The wind cuts across the open fields, whispering through the tall grass like a voice that remembers every secret ever buried. The Heartland Ranch stands strong under the golden morning sun, but peace can't last forever. Not when the past is clawing its way back. Rumors spread faster than wildfire, and now everyone's asking the same question. What are the Pryces hiding, and why does their secret feel so close to home? Something has shifted. A letter no one expected, a truth no one is ready to face, and a storm that could tear Heartland apart. The day begins quietly, almost too quietly. Amy walks out to the stables, the soft crunch of gravel under her boots the only sound around. Horses nicker softly as she passes, but even they seem uneasy, their movements restless. The morning air feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. On the old wooden fence post near the barn, a small envelope waits. Pale brown, edges worn, and on it, written in faded ink, are the words, "For your eyes only." No name, no sender. Just those 4 words that send a chill straight through her. Amy looks around, half expecting to see someone watching her from the distance. But the fields are empty. She takes the envelope inside, her fingers trembling as she opens it. Inside are a few old photographs, the kind that look like they've been hidden for decades. Her father, Tim, stands in one of them, smiling beside a woman she doesn't recognize at first. The woman's eyes are kind but sharp, and her hand rests on Tim's arm like they share a secret. On the back of the photo, someone has written in bold black ink, "The beginning of everything." Amy's heart skips. She flips through the rest. In every photo, the same woman appears, sometimes laughing with Tim, sometimes beside a ranch sign that reads Pryce Ranch. The last photo shows both of them standing in front of a barn that looks eerily familiar. Amy's voice catches in her throat. It's the same barn that stands behind Heartland today, only this photo is from years before Heartland was ever built. She drops the photos on the table, staring at them in disbelief. Her father had never mentioned anyone from the Pryce family, not once. Why would he keep this hidden? And who sent her these now? She feels a rush of confusion, anger, and sadness all tangled together. Outside, the wind picks up, making the windows rattle like the ranch itself is reacting to her discovery. Amy takes a deep breath and walks outside, clutching the envelope. Her eyes scan the horizon where Heartland's land meets the old dirt road leading toward the Pryce property. For years, that boundary had been silent, a line neither side crossed, but now it feels alive again, dangerous and full of questions. Jack steps out of the house, calling her name. She turns, quickly tucking the photos back into the envelope. He gives her a long look, the kind that says he already knows something is wrong. "You okay, kid?" he asks softly. Amy nods, forcing a smile, but Jack's eyes narrow. He's seen that look before. It's the same one Tim used to wear when he was hiding something he didn't want anyone else to know. Amy hesitates, then decides to show him the envelope. Jack takes one look at the photos, and the color drains from his face. His hand tightens around the edges. For a long time he says nothing. Finally he mutters, "I hoped this day would never come." His voice is low, almost like he's talking to himself. Amy stares at him, confused. "What do you mean?" she asks, but Jack doesn't answer right away. He looks toward the mountains in the distance, the sunlight flashing across his weathered face, and whispers, "Some secrets should have stayed buried." Amy feels her stomach twist. That's when she realizes, this isn't just about her father's past. This is about something much bigger. Something that connects both ranches in ways she can't yet understand. The air grows colder, and somewhere far off, thunder grumbles even though the sky is still clear. It feels like a warning. She watches Jack walk away, envelope still in his hand, and for a moment, she thinks she sees guilt in his eyes. The kind of guilt that comes from keeping a promise too long. Heartland has always been a place of healing, a place built on love and honesty. But now, Amy can feel cracks forming beneath the surface. Whatever Jack knows, whatever her father did, it's coming back to the surface, and deep down, Amy knows one thing for sure. The truth won't stay hidden much longer. The air that afternoon feels heavier than usual, as if the whole ranch is holding its breath. The sky is clear, but something unseen hangs above Heartland. A kind of stillness that comes before a storm. Amy can't stop replaying Jack's words in her mind. Some secrets should have stayed buried. It's like a ghost whispering just out of reach. She sits at the kitchen table, the old photographs spread out before her, tracing each one with trembling fingers. The faces stare back at her, her father, the Pryce woman, and a time long gone. Yet somehow, that past doesn't feel gone at all. It feels alive, waiting to be found. Jack has gone quiet since morning. He doesn't meet Amy's eyes, doesn't ask questions, Doesn't answer them either. He just goes about his chores slower than usual, as if weighed down by something he can't carry anymore. Amy decides she can't wait for him to talk. She needs to find out who this woman in the photos is. The one her father never mentioned. The one who seemed to share a bond deeper than friendship. She takes the truck keys and heads toward town, her heart pounding like hooves against the dirt road. The Heartland community is small. Everyone knows everyone's history, or at least they think they do. At Maggie's diner, where gossip travels faster than coffee pours, Amy walks in quietly and sits at the counter. Lisa, wiping down the counter, gives her a warm smile but pauses when she sees the look on Amy's face. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" she asks softly. Amy hesitates, then pulls one of the photos from her jacket and places it on the counter. Lisa's expression changes instantly. Surprise, recognition, and a flicker of something like fear. "Where did you get this?" she whispers. Amy's voice comes out low. "It was left for me. Who is she?" Lisa's eyes drift toward the window before she answers. "That's Lillian Pryce, the matriarch of the Pryce Ranch. She passed years ago, but back in the day," she trails off, choosing her words carefully. "She was known for getting what she wanted. Land, deals, even people's loyalty." Amy leans in, her stomach twisting. "And my dad?" Lisa hesitates, then sighs. "They were close. Too close. Some said they planned to merge the two ranches once they married. But then something happened. A deal went wrong, hearts broke, and both families stopped talking. Nobody ever said why." Amy sits back, the pieces slowly forming a painful picture. Her father was in love with Lillian Pryce. And for some reason, that love turned into silence and secrecy. She thanks Lisa and leaves, her mind spinning. As she drives back toward Heartland, she passes the old fence line that separates their land from the Pryces. The wooden posts are cracked and leaning, half swallowed by weeds. But one thing catches her eye. An old sign, barely hanging on one nail, that reads, "Property of Pryce Ranch." The strange part is, it's standing on Heartland's side of the fence. When Amy returns home, Jack is sitting on the porch, staring at the hills. She walks up to him, holding out the photograph. "You knew about them, didn't you? Dad and Lillian." Jack doesn't turn his head. He nods once, slowly. "I did," he admits, his voice rough. "And I promised your father I'd never tell you." Amy steps closer, her voice shaking. "Why? Why keep it a secret?" Jack sighs deeply. "Because your father wanted to protect you. There were things between the Pryces and us that weren't just about love. There was land, money, betrayal. It tore this valley in two." Amy looks out toward the horizon, her chest tight. "So the Pryces wanted Heartland?" Jack shakes his head. "Not just wanted. They almost owned it." He gets up, his eyes dark with old memories. "Before you were born, Tim signed a deal with Lillian. He needed help rebuilding after a fire destroyed half the ranch. She offered to help, under one condition. That part of Heartland would belong to the Pryce family until he paid her back. But he never did. The debt was forgotten. Or so we thought." The words hit Amy like a punch. "You're saying we don't own all of Heartland?" Jack looks down. "Not legally, but it's more complicated than that. Lillian never claimed the land while she was alive, but her sons, they might not be so forgiving." The sound of distant thunder rolls again, closer this time. Amy feels the weight of generations pressing down. Love turned to rivalry. Loyalty twisted by pride. Everything she thought she knew about her family suddenly feels fragile. Heartland isn't just home anymore. It's a secret, one that's been protected by silence for decades. She looks at Jack, eyes blazing. "Then it's time we stop hiding. I want to know everything." Jack looks at her for a long moment, then nods slowly. "If you're going to dig up the past," he says, "you better be ready for what you'll find." The wind howls through the valley as Amy turns toward the old storage shed, a place her father never let anyone enter. For years, she thought it was just full of tools and spare saddles. Now, she wonders what else might be buried there. Something tells her this is only the beginning, and that the next secret she uncovers could change everything Heartland stands for. The sun begins to sink behind the hills, painting the sky in strokes of gold and crimson. Heartland looks peaceful from a distance, but up close, the silence feels haunted. Amy walks toward the old storage shed behind the barn, the one her father always kept locked. The metal handle is cold, rust biting at her fingers as she turns it. The door creaks open, a sound that echoes through the still air like a sigh from the past. Dust dances in the fading light, and the scent of oil, leather, and old wood fills the space. For a moment, Amy just stands there, staring at the clutter. Saddles stacked on crates, a broken lantern hanging from a nail, and boxes covered with thick cobwebs. It feels wrong, like she's stepping into someone else's memories. She walks in slowly, her boots crunching against the dirt floor, and starts to look around. Somewhere in here, she knows, lies the truth her father never wanted anyone to find. She moves one box aside, then another. Underneath an old tarp, she finds a wooden chest with initials burned into it. TF, Tim Fleming. The sight of her father's initials makes her chest tighten. She kneels, brushes off the dust, and unhooks the latch. The chest creaks open to reveal stacks of papers, faded receipts, and a few old notebooks bound in leather. The first page of one notebook reads, Price Agreement, 1988. Her breath catches. She flips through the pages, scanning Tim's familiar handwriting. Each line tells a story. Business meetings, land negotiations, and names she doesn't recognize. But the deeper she reads, the more she realizes it wasn't just business. There are notes about LP, Lillian Pryce, not as a partner, but as someone Tim trusted, someone he wanted to protect. One passage stands out. Lillian insisted on signing the deed under her name, said it was safer that way. She promised to return it when the time was right. I don't know if Jack will forgive me for this. Amy's hands start to shake. This wasn't just a deal. Her father gave part of Heartland away. Not because of greed, but because of love. He trusted Lillian, and that trust cost him everything. She flips to the next page and finds a small envelope taped inside the cover. The handwriting is familiar, her father's again, and it reads, If you're reading this, it means the past has found you. Her heart pounds as she opens it. Inside is a single key and a folded letter. The paper is fragile, yellowed at the edges. She unfolds it carefully, and her father's voice seems to come alive in her mind as she reads. Amy, there are things I kept from you not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Lillian wasn't our enemy. She was my friend. More than that, she was family once. When the fire took everything, she helped rebuild what we lost. But the Pryce name carried a shadow. Her sons wanted more than what was fair. They used our trust against us. I tried to fix it, but some things can't be undone. If you ever find this letter, don't hate the Pryces. Understand them, and protect Heartland, even from its own past. Tears blur Amy's vision as she folds the letter back, clutching it to her chest. For years she had built an image of her father as strong, flawed, but honest. Now she sees him differently, not weaker, but human. A man who made mistakes to protect the ones he loved. She glances back at the key, small and silver, with a tag that reads, Office Drawer, Do Not Forget. Her pulse quickens. She knows exactly where that drawer is, in the old desk in the ranch office, the one nobody's touched since Tim passed. She slips the letter into her jacket, takes the key, and walks back out into the cool evening air. Jack is standing near the barn, watching her. His face is unreadable, but his eyes say everything. He knows what she's found. Amy doesn't speak. She just holds up the key. Jack exhales, a long, tired sound, then nods toward the office. You're not going to like what's in there, he warns. Amy's jaw tightens. I need to see it anyway. Inside the office, dust covers everything. The desk looks untouched, frozen in time. Amy kneels, finds the drawer the key belongs to, and turns it. The lock clicks open. Inside is a thick folder labeled Transfer of Title, Confidential. Her stomach flips as she pulls it out. The first page is a deed, the legal document for the land Heartland sits on. But at the bottom, beside her father's signature, there's another, Lillian Pryce. The date reads 2 months before Amy was born. She feels the world tilt for a moment. Everything, her home, her family, the ranch, has been built on borrowed ground. The weight of the truth hits her all at once. Jack's voice breaks the silence behind her. That's why your father never wanted you to know. He wanted you to believe Heartland was ours, free and clear. Amy turns toward him, her eyes filled with hurt. He lied to protect me. But from what? Jack looks down. From guilt, from the past, and from the Pryces, because they never forgot what was theirs. The wind howls through the cracks of the old office windows, rattling the paper in Amy's hands. For the first time, she realizes that the fight for Heartland isn't over. It's just beginning, and the ghosts of both families are rising again. The next day, the valley feels different, heavier, quieter, as though the land itself is waiting for something to break. Clouds gather low over the hills, turning the sky a dull gray. The smell of rain lingers in the air, and the horses grow restless in their stalls. Amy hasn't slept. The folder from her father's drawer lies open on the kitchen table, its edges curled from her constant touch. Every word in that document feels like a bruise on her heart. Half of Heartland, the land she's loved, worked, and fought for, was once owned by the Pryces. And now, after all these years, that truth stands bare, demanding to be answered. Jack sits across from her, his coffee gone cold. He hasn't said much since last night, The weight between them feels almost physical, a silence thick with regret. Finally, Amy speaks, her voice steady but soft. If Will Pryce still thinks this land belongs to his family, he's not going to stop. I need to talk to him. Jack's head lifts sharply. That's a bad idea, Amy. The Pryces don't just talk, they twist things. They always have. She meets his gaze with quiet determination. Then maybe it's time someone stopped letting them. By afternoon, Amy drives the old pickup down the dirt road toward the Pryce property. The closer she gets, the darker the clouds grow. The wooden sign at the entrance, Pryce Ranch, established 1957, stands crooked, weathered by years of storms. The ranch itself looks untouched by time, strong fences, tidy stables, and that same eerie stillness Heartland now carries. She parks and steps out, clutching her father's letter in her hand like armor. Will Pryce is already waiting. He stands by the corral, tall and sharp-featured, his silver hair pulled back. His eyes, gray as the clouds above, follow her every move. I figured you'd come sooner or later, he says, voice rough but calm. Heartland's got too many ghosts to ignore forever. Amy walks closer. You knew my father, she says quietly. He nods once. I did. We weren't enemies, not at first. But your father made choices that changed everything. Amy takes a breath. He didn't betray your family, Will. He tried to protect both ranches. The fire, the deal. He thought Lillian was helping him. Will's face hardens. Helping? My mother gave him half her land to rebuild, and he promised her it would come back. Instead, he married your mother and shut us out. My family lost everything that was supposed to be ours. Amy's eyes flash. That's not what happened. He left notes, letters. He was paying her back, just not in money. He built fences, gave cattle, even covered your debts. He wasn't stealing. He was trying to make it right. Will's jaw clenches, his voice sharp. Then why did he keep the deed? Amy hesitates. The question cuts deep. Because she asked him to, she says finally. Because she loved him and didn't trust her sons not to sell the land to developers. She left that choice to him, to protect both of you. The silence that follows is thick with disbelief. Will looks away, his expression cracking for the first time. You don't know what that woman went through after your father left. She carried that guilt until the day she died. Amy's tone softens. And maybe he carried his too. That's why he never told anyone. He thought the truth would destroy what was left between our families. Rain begins to fall. Slow, steady drops that darken the dirt around their boots. Amy holds out the letter, the paper trembling in her hand. He wanted peace, Will, not ownership. He wanted to end the fight. Will stares at the letter for a long moment before taking it. His fingers brush the ink, tracing Tim Fleming's name. When he looks back at Amy, there's something new in his eyes. A kind of exhaustion. Maybe even forgiveness. All these years, he mutters, we were fighting over ghosts. Amy nods, and it's time to let them rest. They stand there in the rain, two names bound by the same wound, the same land. The storm grows heavier, the sound of thunder rolling across the hills like a drumbeat. For the first time in decades, the air between Heartland and Pryce Ranch feels clean, raw, but open. As Amy drives home through the rain, she glances in the mirror at the distant outline of Pryce Ranch, fading into the mist. For the first time, she doesn't see an enemy's land. She sees a piece of her father's heart, flawed, but full of purpose. When she returns, Jack is waiting by the porch. The rain has stopped, and the sunset breaks through the clouds, casting the valley in soft gold. Amy walks up, soaked but calm. She hands him the letter back. It's over, she says quietly. They know the truth now. Jack looks at her with a mix of pride and sadness. Sometimes telling the truth is the hardest kind of courage. Amy smiles faintly. Maybe. But it's the only way the past can finally let go. She turns toward the open fields of Heartland, the horses grazing under the orange sky. The wind moves gently through the grass again, no longer whispering of secrets, but of peace.